What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning The Dr. Vibe Show. Dr. Vibe received the 2018 Innovation Award given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. As always, I like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. And we have a friend, and it's not a new friend on the Dr. Vibe Show this evening, but I quizzed her before we went live asking when was the last time she was on the Dr. Vibe Show. She couldn't remember, and I don't expect her to remember. She's so busy. But the last time she was on this platform was audio back in 2011.
Wow, that's amazing.
2011, and she just got bigger and better in the meantime. Who is this wonderful lady? Her name is Frances Ann Solomon. Wow. She'll give you a big background of herself, but I'll give you a quote by Cameron Bailey, the Toronto International Film Festival's artistic director and co-head. Quote from him directly: Frances Ann Solomon has done so much to bring crucial stories from the African diaspora to the screen. Her portrayal of Ulric Cross story, which we're going to be talking about tonight, illuminates an important chapter in Caribbean history. We're honored to present Hero at the TIFF Bell Lightbox in collaboration with CTFF, which she'll tell us a little bit out, because we only got 20 minutes. So welcome back. And hopefully not after 8 years, 8 years. Frances Ann Solomon, how are we doing this evening?
Wonderful, wonderful. It's wonderful to be with you. Thank you.
Well, right back, and it's an honor, a true honor to have you. And you're in the heat because you've told us you got to get a film ready for Thursday.
I know.
So can you just give us a little short background about yourself, and then we'll get right into the movie Hero.
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you very much for having me back. I remember clearly. I remember I came to your studio. Don't you remember? I came actually physically. Those were the days before everything was hooked up. So I had to get in a car and drive, and I came, and I was in your studio. It was great. It was great. I remember it well. So thank you for having me back. Yeah.
My pleasure.
So I'm Frances. What's that? I'm Frances, and I am a filmmaker, writer, producer, and director. I am the CEO and founder of Caribbean Tales, the Caribbean Tales Media Group, which includes our film festival, which is now in its 14th year. That takes place in Toronto. Our incubator program for Caribbean filmmakers and Caribbean diaspora filmmakers, that's now in its 10th year. We also have Caribbean Tales Worldwide Distribution, which is the first and largest distribution company for Caribbean content, film and television content. We distribute around 400 films from filmmakers from all over the diaspora, yes. We have a video on demand platform, Caribbean Tales TV, which again distributes online the content that we have the honor of distributing on behalf of filmmakers. Most recently, I have founded CineFam, which is a new not-for-profit organization that aims to support bold, original stories by women of color filmmakers worldwide. And this is now our 4th year. We run a short film program for emerging filmmakers. 2 filmmakers a year get to make a 5-minute film that then gets screened at our CineFam Festival in September. And we also have a wonderful partnership with the Durban Film Mart in South Africa. This is the 3rd year that we're doing it. It will be this year. And through that program, what we do is our goal is to develop co-productions between South Africa and Canada, led by African and African diaspora filmmakers. So those are just some of the things. I'm also a filmmaker myself. Well, that's really what I am. That's really what I am. I make films.
Oh my God. So Frances Ann, you've got to promise me something.
What's that?
When you have a moment, when you have a moment to breathe, I want you to come back and yes, Roger Dundas is saying you're a living legend. That is correct.
You guys
it's true. It's very, very true. And as we say in Jamaica, hail up, Francis Ann. Hail up, Francis Ann. Thank you. And I'd like you to come back at another time, and I want you to have some time to share this journey, because that's epic, what you've just shared. That's epic. And you do it with good heart, which is the most important thing.
Yeah, I do.
So thank you. Thank you for everything you have done and are doing, which leads us into this movie called Hero. Like, I'm seeing it all over the place. So tell us what it's all about.
Okay, so Hero is, it's my new feature film. I'll tell you a little story. In I think it was 2010, a man called Desmond Allen, who is a friend of my family, he called my mother. He was dying. And he was calling all his friends and telling them what he wanted them to do after he died for him. And he told my mother, I want you to make a film about Ulric Cross. Now, Ulric Cross was a common friend of ours, an older gentleman. He was in his 90s by then. And I didn't know much about him, but my mother got involved in this endeavor to try to fulfill this deathbed promise of one of her best friends. And she raised some money to make a film about Ulric. And you know, I could see her struggling. My mother knew nothing about film, but in her 70s, she became this film producer. And eventually I got involved to help her because I'm the filmmaker in the family. So I started to research Ulric, who had been, you know, like a friend in the family. I didn't know much about him. I began to research him, and I knew that he had been a highly decorated World War II hero, right? But I didn't know much more about him. And to be honest, I already made a film about Black people who served in the Second World War. And that's not a story that I really wanted to continue to tell, because I really wanted to get away from, you know, talking about how we, you know, just like white people and we good as white people. And so I'm past that, you know. But I've discovered that after the war, Ulric became involved in what was then called the Pan-African movement, right? Which was led by another Trinidadian called George Padmore, who was one of the founders of Pan-Africanism. And so Ulric was recruited by Padmore to go to Ghana on independence. Wow. Ghana was about to become the first African country to become independent, to throw off the shackles of colonialism and be free. And Nkrumah, the president, together with Padmore, who was his mentor, were recruiting Black people from all over the diaspora to come to Ghana to help with that transformation process, to help with the transition from a colonial state to an independent state. And Padmore had a dream. His dream was that he wanted to build, together with other African leaders, he wanted to build the United States of Africa. He saw that Africa had huge wealth, resources, and talent, and he felt that why not? Why couldn't Africa be like the United States of America, a federation of independent and collaborative states who share a vision of growth and wealth? And so that Ulric therefore went to Ghana as a lawyer, and he helped to draft the constitution. And then he was sent by Nkrumah to Cameroon, where he worked as the Attorney General after independence in Cameroon. And he brought a lot of Caribbean people to Cameroon. In fact, I think they said there were 11 Caribbean lawyers who went to Cameroon to help with the transformation process. Finally, he was invited by Nyerere in Tanzania, who was another visionary leader, African leader in the 70s, to come to Tanzania and, you know, be a high court judge. And he was dean of the faculty of law. Tanzania was an incredible place in those days. Another time I'll kind of wax lyrical about that. So for me, that then became a story that I wanted to tell, which was the role of Caribbean, you know, professionals in the independence and liberation movements in Africa in the 60s and 70s. It's something that not a lot of people know about, but it was rich and visionary time. And for us as people of the African diaspora to know that there was this bright and shining moment when these amazing leaders from all over the world had a vision for Africa that is only now perhaps coming to fruition. And the battles they fought and lost to achieve that.
That's fantastic. And as you mentioned, you are going to come back at a later date because we have to expand on this. And I know this is time sensitive, but I'd like to ask, when did you say, or do you remember, I'm going to do this project? Because you said you've been down some of this road before. Like, when did you get emotionally involved in the project?
It was, I think I went to Barbados to do some research, to spend some time just researching and finding out about, like I had a moral and emotional obligation to my mom and to Dad and to Ulric to make this film. And, me, once I get involved in something, I throw myself into it and make it mine. But I went to Barbados to do the research, and I began to discover this incredible story, these people who inspired me beyond more than I can tell you. Padmore is an incredible guy. He trained in Russia in the 1920s with Trotsky, and then traveled all over Africa and Europe, determined to kind of create a mass of African people of the African diaspora to rebuild Africa. All of them were amazing. That was just one. And Padmore was Trinidadian. He came from where I came from. So just discovering those people and their dreams and their determination and the battles that they fought and the entrenched, the vested interests that stood against them, inspired me beyond measure, moved me. That they came from all, because we of the African diaspora now, 400 years later, a crime against humanity was committed against the continent of Africa. One that, has not been, repaid or discussed or avenged. But what moved me was that all these people from all over the diaspora at a particular point in time went home to help to liberate Africa. Nice. I found it very moving.
It's moving me because I can imagine this is like a journey.
It's a journey. And the other thing I want to say is that it then took us on a journey. Because we began to follow in the steps of Ulric. We went, I spent time in Trinidad. I shot the childhood years in Trinidad. And then I went to England, where I recruited wonderful actors, really established and talented people who didn't really need to do my little low budget film, but they were inspired by the story too. People like Joseph Marcel, who is known as the butler from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Fraser James, Jimmy Akimbola, really great Black actors from Britain. They came on board, and we shot the British years there, the war years, and also his years in the Pan-African movement. And then we went to Ghana, where originally I had just planned to go to Ghana to do research. But once we got there, I realized that we had to shoot there. And we got amazing Nollywood actors, Gollywood actors on board. John Dumelo, Adjetey Anang. Again, people who just were like, wow, that's a story that really needs to be told. So it was not just an emotional journey or a spiritual journey or a journey of understanding. It became a physical following in the footsteps, not just of Ulric, but also of our ancestors. Because, for example, we shot a scene on the parapets of this slave castle. Because when Padmore died, Nkrumah brought him back to Ghana because he had been the foreign minister in Ghana, this Trinidadian guy. They brought him back to Ghana and buried him in Ghana. Buried his, but his ashes were scattered over the parapet of the slave castle. Because Padmore said he wanted to be buried in Trinidad. So they stood on the parapet of the slave castle and they threw his ashes towards the West Indies. So we shot that scene.
Nice.
And standing on the parapets in front of the door of no return, through which our ancestors, our blood ancestors passed. I mean, there wasn't one of us, crew, cast, white, black, purple, standing there who did not know the history of that place and could feel it, that our blood ancestors walked through that door and survived, which is why we were now standing here telling this story.
Wonderful. You mentioned, and thank you for that story, by the way, much appreciated. You mentioned you have a wonderful cast. Did you have people in mind for the casting of this? Or, because I always find it fascinating when a director picks individuals that they want. Did you have people in mind, or was that also a process in time?
Oh, it was very much a process. It was very much a process because, it was the little film that could, we started very humble. We didn't have a lot of money. So finding, for example, somebody who could play Ulric, who was Trinidadian, son of the soil, was not easy, but I found this wonderful actor, Nickolai Salcedo, who then went traveling with us. And then once I got to England, I had to do a lot of underground research to find people who would, get people's phone numbers. I didn't want to talk to any agents because we didn't have that kind of budget. So get phone numbers of some of the top actors and to connect with them and ask them, would you be in my film? And then when we got to Ghana, again, it's not the kind of thing that you can really do until you're in the place, So, yeah.
Wow. How long of a process was this film? And what I mean is, from the time you said yes to now, how long of a journey has that been?
So I said yes in 2011. When Ulric was still alive, I went down to his we stay with him in Trinidad and his daughter, and I filmed him there. Some of that is in the movie, and then we finished it last year.
And what was his thoughts about you doing this story?
Well, he just didn't really get it. He was like, "What are you doing?" I would be there with my camera, and he would say, "What are you doing?" I think I'm making a film about you, Ulric. I said, oh, "Why? Why? Really? What for?"
And I know our time is running short, so we'll start winding it down quickly. But first of all, if Ulric was alive today, what do you think he'd say about this film when he sees it? If he saw it, sorry.
I think he'd be happy.
Good. And what do you want the audiences that see this masterpiece to get from it?
That we stand on the shoulders of giants who walk among us quite often and we don't recognize them, because we're not trained or educated to celebrate our heroes. That's not part of our education. We were educated to celebrate the kings and queens of England and people who have nothing to do with us. So understanding that the uncle or the father, the grandfather, the neighbor, that guy, that woman, that person, like actually recognizing the heroes among us is new to us. And I think it's important to see with new eyes what it is to be a hero. What is heroism? And recognize the incredible heroism that is in all of us, but understanding that the freedom that we enjoy now and take for granted was, those who went before us fought and died for it, but it's a very real thing.
Nice. Very, very nice. I know you're in the process of making the film, but when can people see this? Because I want you to promo as we're doing it live, and I know you're based in Toronto, but when can people get the opportunity to see this masterpiece?
Well, we're launching our world tour on Thursday at the Bell Lightbox, 7 p.m. To be honest, we are that close to selling out the 500 cinema at the Lightbox. So we also have screenings lined up for Hamilton, Pickering, Ajax, Brampton, Ottawa, Montreal. Our plan is to do a Canada-wide tour. We're launching in England in May, and plan to do city-to-city tour there. I mean, one of the wonderful things, very quickly, that we discovered when making the film was that we have audiences everywhere. And so we're going to be retracing that journey as well, which is the journey Ulric took, which is the journey of our ancestors, really.
That's fantastic. And I know I'm blessed to have a worldwide audience. So, folks, if you want to, how can people find out more about the film, about Caribbean Tales? How can they find out more about those wonderful things?
HeroUlricCross.com. That's the website where you can buy tickets and find out about upcoming screenings of Hero.
And I'm just going to type that in our platform right now. Ulric Cross, I put it in the Get Vocal notes. I would like to say thank you so much for everything you have done, are doing, will be doing. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much to you. I appreciate you very much. Thank you.
Right back at you, folks. I'm going to make it short and sweet. It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe show, 2018 award winner, from the Canadian Ethnic Media Association for the Innovation Award. I'd like to say thanks very much to Herbie, to Gabe. Big shout out to Roger Dundas and Byblock's 404 Media Group for the collaboration with Francis Ann. Thank you also to So Steph. You can watch us on the replay at the DR, VIBESHOW.com. Also my YouTube channel, and there'll also be an audio version available. But just go to the DR, VIBESHOW.com. You'll catch everything. Last four things I want to say. Live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Next up, sometimes you have to get smaller to get stronger. Block assumptions. And I have one more thing I want to share with everyone before we let you go. Aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Thank you so much, everyone, for taking the time. If you're hanging around at 9 o'clock at the top of the hour, I have another epic conversation coming about Black boys who have been sexually abused. But this one is done. God bless, peace be well, and keep the faith. Bye-bye, everybody, and thanks for watching.